It's you. Come on in. Welcome to the Scumm Bar. Here's another one for ya. Welcome to the Scumm Bar Podcast, where we talk movies, video games, pop culture, turkeys, and everything in between. I'm your host, Mattbrush, and with me today is a special co-host. It's a turkey.
What I feel like the timing
name?
is going to be really weird now, but that's okay.
That's totally fine.
Hi, I'm Anthony.
Ah!
Or I guess I'm Anth0z. Oops.
Hello.
It's been a while.
Hello, Anth0z. Welcome to the Scumm Bar Podcast. I know this is the first time for you.
Yes, it feels very different being here in this setting.
Good. So, if to anybody at home, we are in a different setup now than we normally are. So, if you remember from the last episode, which was a couple years back, I think it was
a decade.
3 months ago, we just discovered, I was in the process of moving. Well, I'm finally moved and set up my computer. It's still kind of rough, but it's set up. So we are, in a new process using Skype. So this is foreign territory for us. So please bear with us while we deal with the new setup. And
Wait, we're not using Skype. We tried to use Skype, but it failed us. So
good
we're
call.
using Google Hangouts. Thanks, Google.
Thank you, Google. Hi, Google.
Thanks, Uncle Google.
Thank you. Yes, no, that is a good point. Skype failed us. I think even
Discord wasn't working out either for whatever
Discord also failed us. So did Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, nothing worked. Google is on top.
Google Hangouts worked everything. So thank you to them. Let's just jump right into it. How about that?
Let's jump. I'm a jumper.
Anth0z, do you want to hear a pirate joke?
Usually.
Okay. Now, typically, I've got these ready, but since I don't have any ready, I'm just gonna make it up on the spot. What has two eyes, 2 ears, and likes to say ear?
Is it Mattbrush?
It's Anth0z. Oh, there it is.
Okay,
You
sure.
almost got it. Yeah, it was the other
cool.
one. I really wish I found a joke in time, but I did not. So that's our joke.
I liked it.
Good.
It kept me on my Anth0z.
Ooh, that was even better than my joke.
I don't know.
I liked that one. That was nice. Ye old news. We're gonna jump into some news here. So, lots has happened in the last 3 months. A lot has happened, and we're gonna get into it. Our topics are gonna handle Endgame. That's gonna be the main title and main topic, theme of this episode, if you will. But
we're beginning with Endgame.
Exactly. It is the beginning of the end. We are going to talk about some of the other things right now, just because the rest of it's gonna be hogged by Endgame. So, first and foremost, are you watching Game of Thrones at all?
I'm not watching it anymore because I finished watching it.
Oh,
yeah,
you're one of those people. So I haven't watched it at all. I haven't seen anything of the new season.
Have you seen any spoilers though, or seen anything?
No, I
heard anything.
I haven't been spoiled at all. Weirdly enough,
wow.
I'd actually started off with like no one talking about Game of Thrones at all. Like the first couple episodes, no one was talking about it, and then I guess the finale happened, and then everyone was talking about it.
So did you end up hearing something about the finale?
I've heard that people are disappointed. That's all I know. Okay. Yeah, but how do you feel? Spoiler free? Well, yeah. I mean, no spoilers. But how do you feel about the show generally?
It's so difficult to say. Like, I've kind of gone back and forth. There are a lot of things that I enjoyed, and a lot of things that maybe I wish were different. But one being the fact that like, I probably would have been happier if they had more episodes that were shorter. Like, I would have been fine with it, because they have a few episodes, maybe half of them this season, where they're like an hour and 20 minutes or so.
Right.
Whereas normally they're like between 50 to 60 minutes. So they pushed that limit for some of them, trying to make it, I think, more of like a cinematic, like a movie experience, right? I think it does kind of show that, like, you can tell by the production value, like everything that's going on when you actually watch it. That's like, wow, like they went through so much to film all this, but at the same time, it almost seems like they rushed a lot of things, and I think that's because they did fit it into I think it's 6 episodes, right? Like that's not a lot of time, I think, to resolve like all these stories. So yeah, I mean, I was still happy to watch it. Kind of feeling a little bit of disappointment with how things turned out, but overall, I'm happy about the journey.
Good.
Yeah.
To compare it to other TV shows, let's say, what's a big TV show you stayed on for a lot of seasons for?
Actually, I can say we watched the series finale of Big Bang Theory just the other week.
Oh, good. Okay.
And yeah, so how many? I think that was 11, 10 or 11 or maybe 12 seasons.
Yeah.
It's completely different from watching something like Game of Thrones. Like you're watching a sitcom. You're watching,
Of course.
right? You're watching something in like modern time, and I think with Big Bang Theory we were kind of on and off. Like if a season returned, then we would be a little bit more reluctant to jump on it right away. Like we wouldn't be as interested as if Game of Thrones was, as the seasons were going on, as the episodes were airing, we'd want to watch it right away. With Big Bang Theory, it was a little bit more intermittent watching the series finale, actually watching specifically the last 3 episodes, because I think they took pretty much those 3 episodes to resolve a lot of stories, and I really enjoyed how they finished it off. I think it's probably one of my favorite sitcom endings that I can remember.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, so I think comparing to something like Game of Thrones versus Big Bang Theory, it's totally different, but I just think for Big Bang Theory they did a really good job with that.
It's kind of funny because it feels like in Game of Thrones, for me at least, because I still haven't seen any of the last season, there's a lot of questions to be answered. So they got a lot of balls in the air, right? So I think to make it satisfying, every question has to be answered so that it's a finite ending. But It's really weird because the structure to Game of Thrones hasn't played out the way typical TV shows structure themselves. So it's played out more like real life, almost like actually going through history. So it's been, well, dissatisfying, really, but almost like that's what's satisfying about Game of Thrones is how dissatisfying it is because it's more like real life.
Well, I think that's part of the point of it, right? They're trying to create like a very realistic sense of what it was like back then.
But then, unfortunately, over the course of the show, for me at least, it got more, I wouldn't say boring, but it got less fun because of that, I guess. Like, for me, my favorite character was Ned Stark. So I've been feeling a bit of pain for a while.
7 whole seasons.
And then I was thinking, well, I guess Rob's pretty cool. And I never liked Jon. I wasn't a big Jon Snow fan for really a long time of the show, but over time, Jon was like the only person left I had to even cling on to, really. Right. So for me, I kind of gave up on any kind of cool Lord of the Rings-esque story arcs and all that kind of stuff in Game of Thrones. So now I'm just kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen for the last season, but I haven't really cared. Hence why I haven't really watched the last season. I haven't really cared too much. But now that everyone's done and the hype is over, I think I'll slowly watch it at my own pace, I guess.
Yeah, but also at the same time, like while this was airing, or while they finally aired this last season, you've also been busy with the move and like adjusting with work. And
oh yeah,
right?
like there's a reason why I haven't really kept up with anything. I mean, Endgame is the only thing I've really seen, and that was just because my girlfriend and I, we just needed a night out to go do something. So we got out and so I went and saw Endgame. It was late, like super late at night, but we finally went out and gotten to do something, so that was nice. But other than that,
it's been tiring. 3-hour movie.
Yeah. It was long. Anyways, okay, so Game of Thrones, that's done. Aladdin's out now. Have you seen Aladdin yet?
Oh, it is out. No, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Hoping to see it maybe in the next couple, maybe sometime like early June, I think.
Okay. Yeah,
how about you?
I haven't seen it yet either, obviously. I haven't seen anything yet, but Aladdin, just generally, I'm interested in it. It looks like it might be fun. I don't know if I'm going to see it in theaters, though, I guess, but it looks actually pretty good. I thought I would not like it. I thought it was looking bad. And then over time, I realized it's more like a musical, which, of course, it's Disney. But I mean, I never thought about it as a musical. I thought about it as the Disney cartoon remade into a live action. And when I think about it in that context, I don't want to see it at all. But when I think about it as like a musical, I kind of want to see it. So there's a part of me that thinks the music will be fun to listen to. And I might get along for the ride, so...
Yeah, you know what? Actually, that reminds me. I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you before, but I think maybe when I first... Oh, yeah, when we were talking about the trailer, I think something about it reminded me of some Bollywood movies that have made it to like mainstream, like to like North American theaters, right?
Yeah.
And so what reminded me of it is like the vibrant colors, but also now that you mentioned the fact that it's more of like a musical. So when I paired those aspects, like like big musical production with like vibrant colors, it for me that sounds like a really cool movie experience, that's what makes me want to go to watch it in the theaters as opposed to waiting to watch it at home. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it.
Some trailers have come out recently. The new It movie, It Chapter 2.
I didn't see that yet.
That's a really good trailer. I'm very excited because my biggest gripe with the first It movie was mainly just that it's too Hollywood jumpy. The jump scares felt like they were added in post almost. Like the movie itself had a great tone to it where it felt really creepy, but the jump scares are all just kind of the jump scares are all just kind of like little moments that don't even necessarily need to be there. They're just kind of added in almost, and I don't know. The jump scares are tacked on. It feels like so. This new trailer for It Chapter 2, it's not actually a typical trailer. It's one scene pretty much. Most of the trailer is just one scene. And the scene is all about tone. It's all about atmosphere and tone, and it is creepy. It's very good. I love it.
Okay. I still haven't seen the first It, but I will try to watch it before It 2 comes out.
I recommend it. It's a good like Halloween kind of movie to watch, but it's memorable, and it's like, Stranger Things, the whole phenomenon of Stranger Things. Like, it's pretty much that, but to a more serious and adult kind of tone. But Stranger Things is almost more gimmicky or something, while It is handling real life issues. Even though these are horror movies, as you know, horror movies are always based on our reality and the things that we actually do terrify us. And It has a lot of, I don't know, just good tones to it that are more realistic.
It's got good times.
More realistic than something like Stranger Things. Stranger Things is like how you picture your life with your friends. That's like how you picture it in your head. But It is more like how it really goes. Like it's a lot more in the grounded in reality, I guess.
Okay.
For a movie based on kids who are fighting a clown.
And when's the release for that?
I actually don't know. September, I think. Sometime in September.
Oh, that's really soon.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to watch it really soon then.
Other trailers. There was a whole bunch of trailers I watched recently.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh man.
Or whatever that little creature is.
So they're filming that actually where I work now. So that was filmed in Ladysmith on the island here. So that's actually where I work now. So my work, and along with a lot of the stores around my work, they had to close everything down, and they remodeled it all. They remodeled most of the town actually for filming some scenes in the Sonic movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. Some people apparently saw, like, there were some people who apparently saw Jim Carrey, and most people saw the John Marston guy, whatever his name
James
is.
Marsden.
James Marston, the Red Dead Redemption guy.
Yeah, we saw. Oh, he's in Red Dead Redemption.
No, his name is James Marston, and the main character in Red Dead is John Marston. So.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because I know James Marsden from the first time I ever saw him was Cyclops.
Yes.
And then I think after that was probably
Westworld.
I feel like I saw him something before Westworld, but Westworld would be like the next,
He was good in Westworld. Like, that's where, like, I really saw that he's actually a good actor. I was like, oh, geez, like, he's got range, so.
Yeah. And then they also filmed portions of Sonic in Vancouver, and so I think towards the beginning of production, or beginning of filming, my fiance actually saw him at one of the bars here, or one of the restaurants.
Oh, yeah, wow, that's crazy.
She always tells people the story, so I'm gonna tell it. That she was okay. So she's sitting on the same side, I think, as James Marsden. So like they're both on kind of like the bench portion, while the person that they're with across from them is on like the single chair or whatever, right? And so I think she sees him out of the corner of her eye, and then what she does is, like, when she realizes that it's him, she tries to take a photo, but like she puts her phone to her ear as if she's trying to talk on the phone, like as if she's taking a call, and then she presses the camera button, but she forgot that the flash was on, and so when she took the photo, the flash went off, and then I think her friend, either my fiance or my fiance's friend, was like, I think they looked over and they saw that you took a photo of them.
That's so embarrassing. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think she was pretty embarrassed. But honestly, like, I'm sure that they're used to it. Like, they must get that all the time, or something similar, anyway.
Wow. That's okay. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
I like that. That's funny.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what needs to be said about Sonic, because I think enough of it has already been said.
Yeah,
The major news I think now is that they're actually delaying this movie so they can redo the animation of his look and all that, which I think is crazier than anything else. This means that fans are actually dictating how shows are going to be made or how movies are going to be made now, because the studio comes out and says this is how Sonic looks, and then the fans go, no, that looks awful, and the studio goes, oh wait, hold on, we'll redo it and we'll make him look better, you know? And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
If you keep doing it then Game of Thrones actually will get remade and people will redo a last season of it because people get so mad about stuff, I guess.
Oh, right, because of their whole petition thing.
Yeah.
I saw on one of those websites, it wasn't like The Onion, but something similar, where the producers, what are their names? DB Weiss and something Ben Benoff. I don't know. I can't remember their names.
Not sure.
Whatever. So Game of Thrones producers, that they made their own petition to pretty much to get all of those 900,000 whatever fans to make their own version and see how they like it and see how like difficult it is to put it all together.
Yeah, exactly. Those guys never signed up to write Game of Thrones. They just wanted to make the show, and then it's the author, whatever his name is. He the one who stopped making the books. He just kind of
George
gave
R.R.
up.
Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but well, he I don't think he could continue. Right, he's writing like extremely slowly because of his health.
Oh, is he?
I think so.
But he also like wrote so many side stories and like other things during it that is like, oh, I mean, it's tough because he wouldn't have known back when he first got HBO to make Game of Thrones, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of just unfortunate how it all played out. Like,
yeah, it is.
Would have been better, because now, like, does he write the same story for his book, or does he go, oh, that clearly doesn't work, I'll write something else? Like, it's
Probably
such a weird
not.
situation.
I think he would like I think I heard that some like not most, but there were a lot of aspects like people had died who weren't supposed to die. So like in the books, like some of the characters have still lived like a lot longer than they did in the TV show.
Yeah.
So I imagine that it would be the similar thing with I think it's both seasons 7 and 8. Like the last 2 seasons were completely separate from the book, or they were after like they take place after the completed books, so that was pretty much their own direction. But I thought that they were given some sort of at least a few kind of anecdotes that George R.R. Martin was kind of heading towards, or he had certain ideas of what he wanted for characters, and I thought that they kind of knew about it, but maybe not. I don't really know.
Yeah, I as far as I'm understanding, there's a few things that happen in the later seasons that he had gave them as like little tidbits of like, this is what I'm going to do with these characters.
Right.
A few of them, maybe not all, but a few of them, and then the rest they kind of built upon with fan theories, like the biggest fan theories that were going to happen in the show. Then they kind of just built up on that a little bit to have those story arcs come to fruition, which probably makes sense. It means they were writing the show for the fans, but unfortunately now it's kind of like the fans wanted it written differently.
Yeah. Well, fans are. It's so like fans are. There are always going to be some people that
I know
aren't happy with stories, right?
We're getting
I think with the.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Okay. With the Sonic thing, it's okay. If you're going to recreate, like reboot, remake, whatever, if you're going to produce something that's based on people's childhood, or some sort of like iconic thing that people know from whatever generation, like there is a very definitive aesthetic like about Sonic, right? It is really about like how he looks. He doesn't obviously look like a hedgehog, but like the animation for him in the comics, in the video games, I'm sure there maybe in some like TV movies, like cartoon movies, maybe like, or shorts or whatever, but either way, like there's a very specific look about him, and like you can't expect people to not lash out if they don't get that look. Like whether you need something to look realistic or not, like you have to know that there are going to be angry people, like a lot of angry people who don't get a chance to see what they expect.
As soon as somebody wrote down live action Sonic movie, it was already doomed to fail. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to have a live action Sonic movie.
That's true.
You've already ruined it before you've started it. So I mean, if he's gonna look this way, keep him this way. Make the money you're gonna make from the show and just finish it and complete it. And eventually down the road, when you make an actual animated Sonic movie, people will watch it. The people that actually care about it.
Yeah.
But for
right.
now, it's just a kids movie. So who really cares?
Yeah.
I mean,
actually,
they'll make
that
money
makes
anyways.
sense. Yeah. I think the first time that I heard. Okay, so the first thing that I saw about it was it might have actually been on James Marsden. Oh, that's how we found it. So James Marsden, when my fiance saw him, then we went on his Instagram, and then he had a picture of something that said #Sonic, and I was like, oh, is he gonna be the voice of Sonic? Like they're gonna do like a new cartoon movie? Like this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I heard it's live action, and I got so
I
disappointed.
know.
Like,
Why
no,
is Sonic with humans? That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, but they could make a great Pixar styled like animation, or Angry Birds kind of like that kind of cloud entertainment, whatever it's called.
Right.
They can make that kind of animation style, and they would have been fine. I think. I mean, I probably still wouldn't have seen it, but that's like I'm not the demographic, right? I mean, it's kids mainly that are going to see it, or people that are diehard Sonic fans. So I don't know. It makes sense to make an animated film, but clearly there's a budget involved, and they only have a certain amount of money, so they're thinking live action with some with like one CGI character, so that there's a certain amount of cost, I guess. But then they also threw Jim Carrey in there, so he must cost a lot of money. So it's kind of a confusing project. Like I just don't understand whose passion project is this, because if it's not a passion project, then I don't understand how people could be so ignorant and think that that's going to work. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, not at all. If Pixar did make Sonic the Hedgehog, I would be all up on that.
Well, they already put him into Wreck-It Ralph, and he looked like Sonic in Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of bizarre, because you can already see how well it would have gone over. But anyways, let's keep it to let's go back to Endgame here. But just before we jump in, I just want to say there's a few other things that have come out for trailers. But we're not going to give them that much time, just because I want to jump into Endgame anyways. One of those main things being the new Spider-Man trailer, which I really want to dissect with you. Okay. But I don't want to do that on this podcast. We'll do it next time. Because Spider-Man's going to be coming out later anyway, so we have lots of time to talk about it. So
yeah, I think July 2nd, right?
Okay, it's actually sooner than I thought, but yeah, still, we'll talk about that in a bit. And the other one is Godzilla. I really want to talk about that one as well, but we'll talk about that in a different podcast too.
Okay. Let's talk about all the things we're going to talk about in a different podcast.
Yes. Okay. So let's move into Endgame. So we're going to do two different sections here in Endgame.
We're going to do end, and then we're going to do halftime, and then we'll do game.
Exactly. Yeah. Hashtag end in one. So normally in the show, if this is your first time coming to the show, we typically break up the podcast into two different topics. But what we're going to do this time is actually just kind of the one topic of Endgame, just because I think it deserves an episode. But we're going to break up kind of two sections. So this first section here is going to be spoiler free. So if you haven't seen Endgame, that's okay. You'll be able to stay with us here, and we'll just talk about Endgame without real spoilers. We're just going to talk mainly about probably more the Avengers and Marvel franchise and everything there that kind of stays spoiler free. I don't really know how we'll do it, but we'll find out. And then you'll get the real meat on the bones, which is the second topic, and that's where we'll go into the spoilers territory, and we'll go more into a bit of a review. Now, Anth0z and I have talked beforehand a little tiny bit about it, and we can already kind of see that we are going to have some good clashing thoughts on the movie, which is great. So I think that makes a good open dialogue. So first and foremost, let's get into the topic here. Endgame. It's over now, like the Avengers and everything. It's cool. Like I feel like we've been waiting for this movie since like the first Avengers, you know? Because even in the first Avengers, there's this idea of there's more to come. There's like what you like here, just stay with us, because we're gonna show you something crazy. We're gonna show you something epic. Without getting into spoilers, Anth0z, how did you feel? Did you feel like this was the ultimate be all end all? Did you feel like maybe this is the most amazing entertainment you've seen on screen, or how did this movie make you feel?
I know I had a lot of emotions watching this one. I was actually thinking that after watching, well, actually no, even before watching this, like I really feel that Marvel has done something to I guess disrupt or kind of just change the whole movie going experience. Right? Like I think it's like, as you said, like they put out a movie and then they say, wait, there's more. Like there's always more to come. I think it's always given us a feeling of like, oh, like I'm part of a journey watching like a whole bunch of stories unfold rather than like one story with multiple layers, if that's what you mean. Yeah. Or if you know what I mean. And I'm trying to think back to some other long-standing series where like it'd be like super worth it to go through from beginning to end, and you get like the satisfaction of seeing it all. And I can't really think of any other company that's done this, or any other franchise. Like long-standing ones that I can think of would be like 007. Or
yeah, that's a good one, because it's like an anthology kind of idea and everything kind of comes together. But 007 never feels like it's ramping up to anything, though, I guess.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
It's almost just like a whole bunch of one-offs, right?
Yeah. I kind of feel like this is our generation's Star Wars in a weird sense. Like, for us, I really felt like Infinity War was kind of Empire Strikes Back. Like, it was massive to me. And I think that's no secret on this podcast, but Infinity War is my favorite Marvel film. I think it was awesome. And I would say Winter Soldier is probably second, but...
Oh, that's so interesting. Like, okay, so when I was watching Endgame, I think when I was watching it, I'm pretty sure each time I watched it 3 times.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure each time I watched it, I was like, I don't think Mattbrush would like this movie. Or I'm sure there are things about this that he would dislike, and this would not be like in his top 5 or anything like that.
Yeah.
So for your top 2 are like almost the opposite of, well, not okay. So my top movie, I would actually say, is Endgame, and my second is Winter Soldier, and third is Civil War.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I like Winter Soldier because I'm more about the themes of the heroes. I don't know. For me, I don't necessarily think Chris Evans is the best actor, but I think Captain America, it stands for something bigger than that. The symbol of Captain America is the whole point of the Avengers to me. So for me, he's my favorite character. I would say Robert Downey Jr. is one of the better actors. You know, people like Robert Downey Jr., people like Chris Pratt, they jump on screen. Even Doctor Strange now jumps on screen. But all of that aside, Captain America's story arc to me is so powerful, and I have no idea what it is. It's just something about him and how he's always sacrificing for the greater good. That just makes him so noble, and I really like that character trait. So no matter what happens, he's always striving to do better, right? Meanwhile, with Tony Stark, you have a bit of like a swagger and like this pompousness, but I feel like we start to get that with all the other characters as well, and then Cap's the only one who's like, no, I stand for a moral ground or something. So it's really interesting to see. So I've always liked that with Captain America. So for me, that's why Winter Soldier's so good. And in Infinity War, that's my only gripe about Infinity War, is that we don't get enough Captain America in it. He really gets cast aside. But my understanding was that the reason he was going to be cast aside in Infinity War is because that movie kind of leans on what I thought was going to be part 2 Infinity War. But Endgame, to me, I don't know about you, Endgame didn't feel like a cohesive second part to Infinity War. It felt like a totally different movie. Would you agree to that, or do you think it's...
Actually, I probably would. If anything, I could see, like, what I liked about Endgame, at least one aspect that I can kind of gather, is that for me, it actually felt like I was watching a comic book.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean that in a good way. Like, I really enjoy reading comics. And to have always wanted to see comics come to life, I actually really felt that from Endgame, and I didn't really feel that from Infinity War.
That's a really good point, because in the comic books, typically you have lots of characters jumping in and out of scenes, and like character involvement, and especially like minuscule amounts of time, just a character being there for like a little scene. For example, Spiderman, he's like good friends with the Human Torch, and like in a Spider-Man comic, you'll see Spider-Man talking to the Human Torch for like scene, and then Spider-Man goes off on his journey, right? And that was all it was. And I feel like you get a little bit of that in in Endgame. It feels a lot more like that, the character moments of them talking. My biggest example, I think, of the difference between the two of them is that Infinity War is like one gigantic fight scene that just keeps going and does not stop. And then Endgame goes for Marvel's like walk and talk dialogue, or actually it's usually standing around and talking dialogue. So Endgame tries to be more scene based. It tries to be more structural based. It tries to be more character based, which is what I like. But unfortunately, I don't feel it. It feels kind of scattered to me. It feels a little bit scattered. Okay. While Infinity War, somehow, I don't get it, but Infinity War does action sequences with dramatic dialogue all at the exact same time. So that's how I felt, at least. But
yeah, okay. I at least with Endgame, I felt I can see what you mean by there's the different sets of structure. Like Infinity War, it does make sense to see that as one giant prolonged fight. And I think it's because the way that we have to watch not just Thanos, but then also the rest of the Avengers and Guardians and anybody else, any of like the good guys side, that are involved in Thanos getting the Infinity Stones. So I can see how that works. And then with Endgame, for me, it's kind of like watching... it's sort of like watching a giant what if, which I felt was kind of cool.
That's
because
true.
I like to I'm trying to say this without making any spoilers, but I like seeing the Avengers figuring out what to do after Infinity War takes place.
Yeah.
And they slowly find their own they kind of find their own places in
Yeah.
life, which is so different from what we've seen up until then. And I think it would have been cool if we could see more of that, but then at the same time, like that, seeing more of that would then take away from the time that we would need to watch them, truly resolve everything in the end. But at least in that regard, I thought it was really cool.
I agree with you 100%. I think that's exactly what it felt like. Is that it was almost like okay, there's Avengers and Avengers 2. And in between that time, clearly our heroes have talked a bunch. They've all done training. They've all done all this kind of stuff that we don't know about. It's just in our heads. It's not shown to us ever. This movie felt like pulling back the curtain and showing you what the Avengers are like when they talk on their downtime. Like when they are trying to plan almost like minute details out, the minutia, the stuff that we don't necessarily care about as much. We get to see behind the curtain and see into our heroes a little bit more into that kind of stuff. My gripe about it, and it's a big gripe, is that they spend too much time on that. I feel like we got gypped a little bit and we saw too much of boring things that we don't need to care about. And we'll get into that on spoilers, but I think that's just an overall general opinion, is that it's long, it feels long, and I think the reason it feels long is because they do like bless them for trying to show us more of these unique parts about the characters. I think it was a interesting idea. I just don't think it worked as well, especially when it came after the big action movie that was before it, the one that was really fast paced, the one that was full action. Then they tried something like this. It feels like that was the wrong way of thinking, and it should have been the other way around. Yeah, I was gonna say something. Well, I mean, I just did, but what do you think about that?
I guess I'm thinking, like going into the second movie, knowing that all of this action has already taken place, I can see why, you would probably expect more, even more action that would top the first one.
Yeah.
And I think, they kind of do that with, the third act of Endgame, but at the same time, it does feel, I can see why it would feel kind of backwards.
Yes.
But I think maybe what I really liked about Endgame in that sense was that what kept me wanting to see more wasn't actually about the action, but more so about where have these relationships gone between the Avengers, up until now. What has changed about each of these characters, and what about those things are actually truly noticeable, and how much do they have an impact on the story, and how much do they have an impact on me being involved and enjoying the story. So I'm sure I'll mention it later on, but spoiler-free way of saying it would be that, there are some characters that we've seen. Actually, well, we can take Captain America and Iron Man, for example. I actually felt, okay. So you were definitely right in saying Captain America's he's like the Rock. He's always been this way. That he's he always tries to do the right thing. He doesn't waver. He's always been that way.
Yeah.
Whereas I see somebody like Iron Man, he definitely has that swag, and he is that kind of character where you see him on screen, and he's definitely got that kind of charisma. But there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of development that we've seen about him specifically from the beginning up until now.
Yeah.
They maybe in a couple of movies like Iron Man 2 and 3 there was some development there, but then I think just because the movies themselves weren't that great, you kind of disregard the development that he went through, or at least you don't really pay as much attention to it. But the fact is it is there, and then you do see you kind of see the result of his development in the later movies, such as in Infinity War and Endgame. And I think especially when Spider-Man comes out, when Spider-Man Homecoming, when that movie comes out, we see Tony Stark actually starts to build a relationship with a person, and he actually starts to show some care for that person, which I really enjoyed seeing from that point and then moving forward. It was something that I wouldn't have expected, because the only kind of relationships we saw with him and anybody would be his chauffeur like happy, which
Yeah.
was like it wasn't like the most in-depth relationship. We'd see some development with Pepper Potts, and then like there'll be some other girls in and out and whatever, like people that he'd talk to, like even Captain America, like their relationship, it went stale like pretty quickly. So like there wasn't anything that really got deep rooted in a positive way. And in Iron Man 3 he meets that kid, the one that he's got like a barn full of all these gadgets, and then Iron Man or Tony Stark helps him to like make them all better and stuff like that, right? So I mean, like in a way, like we're starting to see like a spark of Tony kind of sympathizing with somebody, because he's like almost he's almost going like the same route as Tony, so he sees himself in this kid, right? And then starts to build this he starts to show care for a person. But I feel like the minute that he met Peter Parker, like I saw like more of a spark in him caring for people, and then there was much more development, or there was very evident development going from then on forward to where we are now, to the end game. Sorry, there was so much information there, and I don't know.
I like that though. That was good. That was a really good analysis of it. That was good.
Thank you.
With that, we are going to move on to our next segment, I think. So our next segment is the Game Spinner.
All right.
Now, Anth0z, I don't know if you remember this. It's been years, but we like to do a little thing here where we play a little Game Spinner. And when we play the Game Spinner, sorry, I'm stalling for time while I get the screen set up.
That's okay. I can actually stall. I'm gonna do a throwback thing to all the other episodes. Whenever you say Game Spinner, I hear the word spitter, and then I remember the episode of Friends when
of course
of course, when Chandler and Monica are trying to figure out who they want to officiate their wedding. And then there was somebody, like the first officiant was a guy who was like he spits and he stares at Monica's breasts. And then Joey steps up and he wants to be the officiant. But then he I think he delivers like the dumbest speech ever. And then Chandler's immediate response to Monica was like, "Let's call the spitter." Anyway, that's just you saying spinner reminded me of spitter, and ergo Friends.
Nice.
Yeah. So I did it.
Of course. It's always a Friends reference somehow.
Yeah.
You'll find one.
My life revolves around Friends.
Good.
Literally.
Okay, I'm still looking for I think it's in here.
Secret business planning for success, is that what I saw?
Oh yeah, I forgot you're on this. You can see the screen. There it is.
Screen sharing.
Okay. All right. So, Anth0z, can you cue the music, please? On the Wheel of Scum, we've got many different games that you can play, starting with number 1, Pirate Adventure. Number 2 will be Shakespeare in a Bjar. Number 3, Parlay OK. Number 4, A Haunting Tale of Woe. Number 5, Who Wants to Be Scum Millionaire. And number 6, Swashbuckler. So, Anth0z, will you please spin the wheel?
Oh, I can't do it. You have to do it, right?
I know, you just gotta tell me when to click.
Okay, I'm gonna click in 3 now.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, the wheel is spinning. You'll have to take my word for it, folks, but the wheel is spinning. We'll see what we get.
I see it and I hear it.
Click, 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 click.
The wheel of Mattbrush.
Click. Oh wow, good, because I'm not prepared at all. So
yeah, how would we do this one? Whoa.
Yeah, let me see. So we got Pirate Adventure. Pirate Adventure is it's time to bark on your new Pirate Adventure. Get ready, and Mattbrush will further tell you further instructions. Now,
I just realized next to Pirate Adventure it says TM, like the trademark thing.
Oh yeah.
Nice touch.
The Pirate Adventure, I hope I've updated the document on here, but I really don't think I have. Yeah, okay, so... Oh no! The last time we did Pirate Adventure, where did we leave off? On Pirate Adventure, last, Anth0z and his trusty sidekick, or uncle... Bob? I think Bob was his uncle?
I think it was Bob.
Anth0z and his trusty sidekick, Bob, were trying to go and... Were you trying to find a sword master?
Didn't we? Okay, we walked into some sort of like castle, and then we got kicked out. We got like blown out.
Yeah.
Was that the last one?
I think there was a wizard inside the castle, and he blew you out of it. You're trying to complete the 3 trials. I'm just trying to remember which one you're going to. Oh, you're trying to steal plans to the Scumm Bar, I think.
Maybe. Wait, didn't I? Oh, I guess because when I stole the plans, like, didn't I? Something about like it was behind like a mirror in the bar, but then that was too easy, so apparently it was untrue.
Yeah, I think those were fake plans, and now you're searching for the real plans with your Uncle Bob. So you were near. Okay, I remember now. You were near a forest, and then there was a castle with a wizard, and then there was steps leading up to the top of a mountain. And then you were about to climb up the steps, and then as you guys are climbing up the steps, we said next time on. So previously on the Scumm Bar adventure, Anth0z and his trusty Uncle Bob were off to go and find the plans to the Scumm Bar on Melee Island. And in doing so, he will complete one of his 3 tasks, which is thievery. What are the 3 trials? The 3 trials. There are thievery, sword fighting, and blah.
I have no idea.
I can't remember what the 3rd one is, but we'll get there eventually. We'll figure it out. Thievery, something, and something
We don't need to know about it until we finish the first 2 anyway. So.
Oh, good. Anth0z. Anth0z, take it away. You are walking up the stone steps to a mountain. It's a cold, dreary night. The rain is pounding, and you and your uncle are getting very tired. You're halfway up the mountain already. And you look off into the distance, and you see the ocean waves. And you think to yourself, this is tough. What do you do?
Okay, so I'm looking up. That looks pretty tiring. My Uncle Bob, he's kind of slow. Is there, can I build like a giant catapult out of trees nearby me? I guess I don't have the tools for that, do I?
You can't build a catapult, but if you look, you see some bushes, and there seems to be a catapult-shaped object behind the bushes.
Okay, I go towards that, and I push the bushes away.
It happened to be 3 men, the same 3 men from the Melee Island town that had a little pet rat, and they were talking to you earlier in the last episode. They happen to be shaped like cannonballs. They greet you and say, hello!
Well, hello, 3 men. Do you know of a good way to get up this mountain?
Why, yes, we actually have a cannon, and if we use this cannon behind us, you can shoot yourself up the mountain. It's actually pretty useful.
Okay, has this been used before this way?
No, you'll be our first-time trier. We're going to be making a circus sometime, and we think that this could be a really interesting act. So, why don't you help us try this?
Okay, Uncle Bob, you first.
Uncle Bob gets into the cannon slowly. Suddenly he's stuck inside the cannon. Help me!
Okay.
Treasure huntery! That's what the other one was. Treasure huntery. Sorry, continue. Continue.
Okay, so he's stuck, and I'm gonna go into the ocean so that I can find seafood like fish, crab, and lobsters. So that I can squeeze the juice out of them and butter, like oil up the sides of Uncle Bob and let him seep through.
Perfect. Anth0z heads down the mountain again to go to the ocean to go get this lube, while his uncle is waiting up in the cannon with the 3 men of low moral fiber. As Anth0z is climbing down the mountain, he slips and falls to his death.
Do I get another life? Is this how does?
Suddenly, Anth0z is brought right back to life again. It's a seagull. The seagull is pecking his head. It turns out that he has fallen all the way down to the beach from the mountaintop. Here he is on the beach lying, a little bit in pain. Maybe time has passed a little bit, and the seagull flies away. And here he is on the beach once more, the same beach that he knew from the beginning of this whole story. Whoosh, up goes the waves.
What?
Whoosh.
Okay. I guess I get up and oh, jeez. I lie down and get a tan for a little bit. Can I? Okay, so if I'm on the beach, I'm gonna go towards. Oh, it's you again.
Hello, says your uncle as your uncle walks by. You're right, he has just walked up out of nowhere. How did he get out of the cannon? Who knows?
Well, I can see that his His stomach is bleeding, so there's a whole bunch of slices around, and
The men of low moral fiber must have helped him get out. Your uncle says to you, I think if we go into the forest, we may be able to find the deed to the Scumm Bar.
all right, well, we're gonna go into the forest
Anth0z and his uncle walk over to the forest edge.
to the edge. Okay, so looking around, I'm looking.
Anth0z looks, he sees a little hut. There's a tiny little cottage. Kind of looks like Hagrid's hut from Harry Potter.
Ooh. Okay, let's go there. Maybe they have a hippogriff.
Anth0z goes to the hut. He knocks on the door. Go away, says a voice.
But we need help.
Oh, in that case, the door opens up and a little old woman is there. She says, hello, what can I help you with, my dear?
Well, we're looking for the deeds to that Bjar.
To which Bjar do you refer to?
The one that's way over yonder. The one that looks oh so unsettling.
Oh, you mean the Scumm Bar. I
That's
know
the
the bar. And you need the deed, you say?
Yes, would you happen to know where these deeds might be?
I, funny enough, have the deed in my hand right now. You must give me one thing for this deed, though.
And what is that?
Your soul.
Okay. Well, okay. I take off my right shoe, I take out the insole, and I give it to her.
The old woman looks pleased. She takes the soul and puts it into some kind of cooking pot she has over by her fire, and she starts clapping as it goes into the pot, and it boils up and stuff, and a blue haze comes out of the pot. She's very happy and pleased with herself. She starts stirring the pot more.
Great. Smells good.
I'm glad you think so. Will you stay for a pot with me?
What else is what else did you cook with that soul?
Oh, just things.
I'm just gonna take the deed and move on. Thanks.
What deed?
The one that was in your hand.
What do you mean? The old woman looks puzzled.
So do I.
You're a funny person, she says, and she goes back and continues to stir her pot.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna go inside and I'm gonna look around and.
Anth0z starts rummaging through the house. There doesn't seem to be much in there. There's old carrots, some socks, and a strange bronze ingot is at the bottom of a shelf.
What's an ingot?
An ingot is like a solid metal piece that when you smelt it into a cast mold, you make like a little ingot.
Oh, like a chest?
No. Like a bar of bronze. A bar metal of bronze.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So... Sorry, I choked. Okay, so there's an ingot. I pick it up.
Anth0z picks up the ingot. What are you doing with my ingot? Says the old lady.
What's an ingot? I ask.
It's my grandson, she says, as she takes it away from you really quickly and proceeds to put it into the pot. The ingot starts to melt and ooze its way into the pot. A strange yellow color comes out of the pot. By the way, she says, and she pulls a small piece of paper out of her pocket. This is the deed to the Scumm Bar. If you happen to need this, you can have it. All you must do is drink some of my soup. And she hands you a little bowl of soup with her hand shaking as she hands it to you. Here you go.
Okay. I take it into my hands, and as I'm putting it up to my lips, I point at my Uncle Bob, who is now standing behind the old lady who is trying to rummage through her other stuff, and go, Uncle Bob, don't touch that. And so then she turns around, and I throw the cup behind me, as if I toss the liquid out of the cup as if I drank it, and then that's it.
The soupy mixture that Anth0z threw over his shoulder lands on the floor behind him. A sizzling sound is heard behind him, and he can see that the floor is actually melting behind him. Uncle Bob seems to have created the distraction, and the lady did not see this. She turns around and sees Anth0z. Oh, you finished already? Good, I'm glad, she says, looking a little shocked. Uncle Bob quickly snatches the deed and says, "Run, Anth0z, run!" And then he stomps on the old lady's foot as the two of them run outside of the little cottage.
Okay. Great.
As they're running outside of the cottage, they look back and realize it wasn't a cottage at all. It was a gigantic living onion with eyes and teeth. Going, nom, 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 nom. They keep on running until they get far away from the onion.
Wait, are you calling it an onion again? Like
onion, like an onion.
Oh, I heard like UNGION. Onion.
Like an onion.
Yeah.
Like a gigantic onion.
So it's a gigantic onion, like from Overcooked.
Yes, exactly. Just a giant living onion.
Cool.
But the two of you have outrun it, and you are now out in a field of tall grass.
Great.
Your uncle hands you the piece of parchment. You look at it, and it says, "The deed to the Scumm Bar."
Yes, we did it. Let's go back to the Scumm Bar and wait for those 3 low fiber gentlemen.
Fade to black. Fade back from black. Anth0z and his uncle are now in the Scumm Bar. One gentleman is at the bar, looking very important, saying, "So, you found the deed."
I did indeed.
That's not funny. And he grabs the deed from you and puts it in his pocket. "I guess I can honor you the first trial. You have completed the trial of thievery. Good job, Anth0z," says the man. Your uncle pats you on the back and says, "I knew you could do it."
Thanks, Uncle Bob. Thanks, man with low fiber.
So with that, Anth0z had a smile on his face and decided to have a grog. And as he was drinking it, he thought about the 2 other trials he must complete in the future. Next time on Pirate Adventure, whatever this is called.
TM.
We'll see you next time. There we go.
Great.
We did it! Another
Good
successful Pirate Adventure. Man,
Good work.
It's tough when you have nothing planned and you just kind of have to go for it.
Or it's really good when you have nothing planned.
Or it's even better. Yeah, maybe you're right. I have no idea. So, thank you for keeping up with me. That was very well done.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, am I supposed to be contributing more to the story? Like, how does this work? Because I know that you normally have like a whole bunch of like things, kind of like more or less like set-ish.
No, it just
okay.
It just kind of works as well as it works. It takes 2 to make love last.
Blood? Love.
Love.
Oh, okay. I heard blood. But okay.
And along with blood, what do we get? When you fight in a battle, you may create blood, and battles sometimes are called wars. Now, wars have some kind of end, like an end game. So, that's our segue into the next topic.
That was seamless.
Endgame!
Wow.
Okay, so we are now going into spoiler zone. So just picture this as a minefield sign, and there are spoilers up ahead. So
everything is spoiled. The broccoli, the movies.
It's all just disgusting now.
Everything's spoiled.
Okay. Falcon dies. Oh! Okay, let's get into spoilers. Let's get real here. Let me just say, right off the bat, I actually think it's a good movie. I do think that this is overall a good movie.
Yeah.
But, and it's a large but.
It's
It's
butt.
big old butt. Big booty.
Big booty.
Expectations for me were so high. I had set them so high because of Infinity War that I think I was just going to be disappointed no matter what happened. Now, that being said...
Well, that's your fault.
Well, I can see why you would say that. But that being said, there is a lot to pick apart in this movie. And I'm sure there's a lot to pick apart in other movies too. But I think because this one has such a prestigious placement in the world of filmmaking, I have to pick apart the things that I think made no sense at all. But let me say it first.
Okay.
The Hawkeye, I mean, this is a second, I guess, but the Hawkeye scene at the very beginning was very good. The tone to that scene was incredible. That's how I feel like the movie should have been. That was awesome. That was like pretty much the exact feeling from the end of Endgame, where everything just was horrible, and you're like, what? And then the credits came up. It was like, wow. Well, this started with that, which is awesome. The credits came up right after his family was gone. It was like, whoa, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, biggest gripe is that I think Captain America should have been the one to sacrifice himself. I think it made way more sense thematically if there was absolutely no time travel, for one, because that's crazy, and also that Captain America should be the one to sacrifice himself. Iron Man doesn't make as much sense to being a sacrificial character. I can get it if he retires, and I can get it if he passes on the torch to another character. But to be the one to sacrifice himself, even the movie didn't really know how to handle it, where they're just like, go to sleep now, buddy. And then, like, the next person in line, okay, you're Mr. Stark, I'm so sorry you had to do this. Okay, next person in line. Who's another character that has a good emotional scene with him? Oh, it's okay, Tony. You can go to bed now. Okay. And then, like, Captain America, don't worry, buddy. Like, it's, like, so many people. It's like, oh, my God. Like, it makes no sense. But what we needed, absolutely, was Captain America to look at Thanos and to say, I can do this all day. And just keep on fighting until he sacrificed himself for everyone else. To be the shield to every other character out there. But no. It was Tony Stark. Tony freaking Stark. And also, bigger things too is, I mentioned before, I feel like they wasted a lot of time on this movie. Especially, this movie is 3 acts. The very first act is the first hour, and that hour was boring and not needed. It was so much time of look how depressed we are. They spent so much time talking about how depressed the characters are in this new timeline. To me, that was too much. The second time was a heist movie. Second hour was a full-on heist movie, which was really fun. And I really enjoyed it. I thought that was cool, zipping into scenes. But the problem is, only one of them was like a compelling story. And that was Tony and Captain America. And then the other ones were just filler, like Rocket and Thor, which was... You didn't really care about Rocket and Thor because you knew there was really no stakes there. And the other one was Scarlett Johansson and the guy, and Hawkeye, yeah. And that one was just the same scene we've already seen in the other movie. So again, we feel like we're wasting time because we're doing the exact same thing over and over again. The only compelling thing was like a bait and switch that kept happening. And then by the time they kept throwing themselves at each other, you realize, oh, I don't really care who dies because either one could die, and it is still emotional, but it's also just going to continue the story anyways. And deaths don't feel so permanent anymore because we apparently have time travel. So, the other thing is, once we get into the third act, I realized that I don't know what's going on anymore. By the time I got to the end of the movie, I realized I had no idea what time period we're in. There were moments when I thought we were in the old time period, and I was like, why are they upset? We still have this to worry. And I was like, oh, no, we're not. We're in the modern time now. But wait, no, we're in the past. And I was so confused so many times. When Pepper Potts showed up, I realized we were in modern times when I thought we were still in the past.
What?
I know. I got so lost watching this movie, but I don't normally get lost. It's just that there was a lot going on. Right. And then very last thing, the humor was not funny to me. I didn't like Thor. That wasn't funny. It was so annoying. It was like, okay, he's fat. Okay. But then that joke... Just they kept doing the same joke throughout the movie. Just like, he's fat now. It's like, oh my God. How many times can you throw fat Thor at me and hope I'm going to laugh? And Hulk was not, like, Hulk did not really land. I didn't like Hulk in Infinity War either, but I didn't really like Hulk in Endgame either. He was just kind of bland. Well, who else was trying to be a funny character? I don't really know who else was funny. But I just found the humor didn't land either for me. So the battle wasn't... And another gripe, the last battle felt it felt like did you watch Aquaman?
I did, yeah.
Okay, you know the last battle scene to Aquaman where eventually you just kind of throw up your hands in the air and you're just like, I don't really know what's going on, but okay, it's gonna turn out, like, because it just got a little crazy in Aquaman. It wasn't full on Aquaman, but it felt like that for Infinity Wars. There was just a lot going on, but there didn't feel like there were stakes. Because of the action, because of the theme and all that, I didn't really feel any stakes at all. And I don't know what it is, but the scene in Infinity War where they're all fighting in whatever it's called, what's that called? The Black Panther place.
Oh, Wakanda.
Thank you. The Wakanda battle scene felt so much more like an actual battle. Well, for some reason, I don't know what it was, but Infinity War just felt like a scrambled mess. I don't know why, but the last battle scene felt like I couldn't comprehend where the placement of units are, or battle units. If we're talking about a war scene, you know, I like war movies a lot, so I really like a cohesion. I like it to be clear what's going on. and it felt like things were scrambled everywhere just to show you really quick clips of really kind of cool shots of people doing things. But in Infinity War, we got a really nice solid foundation of here's some troops, here's some other troops, and they're fighting like this. And you get to see the battle a lot easier. I don't know, it just made more sense to me in Infinity War. So it felt scrambled. This whole movie kind of felt scrambled. 3 separate movies in one movie and totally different themes to it. So that's my overall general thoughts. I can pinpoint a lot of things, but I'm going to let you talk because I feel like I've been talking forever. So you go ahead. You tell me some things that you really liked about it, or tell me some things maybe you didn't like about it.
Well, okay, so I'll probably try to go from like beginning to end, kind of like I liked. Actually, I'm just gonna preface by saying I really liked their approach for storytelling, because what I liked is what helped me figure out what was gonna happen. Basically, a lot of foreshadowing. There were a lot of things that I felt for this movie alone tied from beginning to end, but also tied from beginning of the whole MCU, like 20, it's 22, 23 movies, 22.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Whatever, like basically ever since the first Iron Man movie. So
yeah,
that's what I liked, because that way I could actually feel like things are actually wrapping up when I get to think back to when, like, what this is recalling from something before. So for example, well, these are some of the reasons why I knew that Iron Man, or I had a very high suspicion that Iron Man was going to be the one to die. Iron Man had the first movie. Iron Man was the one who had the, like, that dream, or like the premonition where he was standing over all of the Avengers' bodies, and he was the one, like, he was basically the one that was like standing upright.
Yeah.
He was shoot, what was it? Other than so the beginning of Endgame, Hawkeye had the first scene, but technically his scene was during the time of the previous movie.
Yeah.
And so the first actual scene of when Endgame is starting in like our modern time was actually Iron Man. So the way I felt that was like, this story was beginning with Iron Man, like this movie was beginning with Iron Man. The whole MCU cinematic universe like started with Iron Man. So therefore I feel like it only makes sense to end with Iron Man, like he's the one who began it all. He was the one who and like I said, like I felt like he went through so many like a lot of good character development, but also building on relationships. So when it came to Spider-Man, I felt that he had kind of already like passed the torch, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like he gave, other than like War Machine, like he gave Spider-Man a suit that was pretty much like resembling like a semblance of colors, but semblance of technology as well. The way that Spider-Man could activate, I think, did he use Friday as well? Or no, I think
he might
no,
have
Peter Parker
actually
he named her something else.
a suit lady.
Yeah, sure, something like that. Yeah.
I think he just called her suit lady the whole time. But yeah.
Sure, suit lady. So anyway, like he had passed the torch. So I felt like, well, he had already passed on something. Therefore, if he dies, like there's already somebody that can take up after him. Like they've already gotten the mantle from him that they can take over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh geez, I felt like there were so many more things. I just can't recall them all now. But oh, right. And also, he was the one who was actually on, other than Nebula, he was the one who he was like the last person oh, this is what, yeah, when he fought Thanos on Titan, he was the one that got stabbed, and he was supposed to die, but because of Doctor Strange, who made a deal with Thanos, like I'll give you the stone if you spare his life. Like Doctor Strange knew that Iron Man had to be a part of their 1 in 14 million combinations of them winning.
Right.
So the fact that he was stabbed and Thanos let him live, I felt that he had to live for a specific purpose, and that for me that was to be the one to deal the last blow to Thanos.
Right.
I kind of saw that as my guess was that because he was like trapped in space, that he was going to end up finding where Peter Dinklage was, and he was gonna get him like. He was gonna get him to like create another gauntlet in order to like beat Thanos. Because I figured if anybody had like the brains to do that, it would have been Iron Man.
Right.
So I was like half right, because he was the one who built he built a gauntlet in the movie. He just didn't build it He didn't build it in space. He built it back at the
you
base,
either
right?
needed the forging from a star to be able to make an Infinity Gauntlet, or if you're Iron Man, you can just figure it out anyways, because Iron Man can figure out time travel and an Infinity Gauntlet in like 2 seconds, apparently, which is nuts. He's not that crazy.
But he didn't actually figure it out in 2 seconds, because like he said he had been thinking about it. Like he had already talked about all the problems that you would encounter, and that would show you that he actually had already been thinking about it. And at the same time, when they opened that scene when he was actually going through like creating all these different models, he's like, okay, let's just try this one last one. So that those words alone was like, okay, he already tried a bunch. We're just not watching it happen because we don't have time for that. We just need to see him figure it out. But I could see why, we'd want to see him struggle with figuring it out, because then we get to see like it is that much more of an impact right when he figures it out. But I think as a part 2 to a big combat movie, that you have to save time for getting to the things that's going to tie in everything else, as opposed to like we evidently it's inevitable that the good guys are going to figure out a solution, right? That's just how these movies work. And so why waste some time in your very last movie to show just a little bit more struggle, like just for him to figure that out? Like I don't know if we really needed to do that for that aspect.
No, I definitely understand that point. And I wrote a lot that I thought was going to for any movie I watch, I always write how I think it's going to go in my head.
Yeah. And
I'm like, okay, it's probably going to go here, it's going to go here. I write a few different paths, and then what I would like to see, what I think will be interesting. And then I'm either pleasantly surprised, or I'm disappointed, or I do get something that I thought of. Or like surprised, I mean, like maybe they did something totally different, but it was way better than I could ever hope or dream of, right? I'm not saying that I'm writing the best or anything like that. I just think I always have a fairly good idea. But one thing I never thought about is how do they fix the half-dead people, right? I kept thinking about how do they kill Thanos, so I kept thinking like how do they get the stones back or stuff like that, right? Like for some reason I never asked how do they bring everyone back.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that never crossed my mind was time travel. I never thought, let's do time travel. My mind was always like, they're frozen. They're like in a stone. And then something happens and then they come back within the same time period or something. And maybe only after a couple days or something. But one of the biggest twists for me was being years later, right? Like them being depressed for 5 years or whatever it was.
Yeah. And
also Thanos himself just being totally powerless after using the stones.
Mm-hmm.
Though I wasn't expecting those two things at all. And that's already, it took me to such a different place than what I was expecting in the very beginning of the movie. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. Mm-hmm. We went a totally different direction. So
I think that makes sense though for Thanos, because like if he knew that he what you really liked about Infinity War, I remember you telling me before, was that Thanos was like the one supervillain who actually did what he sought out to do. Like
exactly.
He did it and he completed it.
Yeah.
And so, but I feel like, so if you complete it, like what are you going to do after? Like,
yes.
Like you don't need to keep training because your job is done, right?
Where I thought this was going to go though, and I don't know if this would be interesting or not, but it almost, if I was interested at the time where I thought this was going to happen, is they just killed Thanos in like 2 seconds at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like in that moment, I was like, "Oh yeah, like it doesn't matter. Like he's dead. Like that's totally. He's already done. He's completed his goal." And that moment, that split second, was so exciting for me because it's like, yes, like that's not the issue. The issue is bringing everyone back.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where things instantly went in a direction that I wasn't wanting, and that's everyone gets depressed. I get it. We've never seen the heroes depressed, so that's cool. I guess that's cool, you know. And we do get to see some subtle moments of good character, like Captain America being at a whatever that's called, like a session helping like people in the city.
Yeah.
Which is great. Iron Man gets to move on and have a kid and all that, which is also great character development. I thought that was awesome for him to have a daughter, because that shows growth and development. But sorry, I keep forgetting where I want to go.
Because there's just so many things.
I want to stay on track with Thanos though. So the villain, a big issue with this is the villain for sure, because once we go back in time, once we go back to the other time period, Thanos is now a different Thanos. He's the one that realizes he's already gone in the future and done all that, and now he's going to fight the Avengers early. He's going to fight them before the moments of the other ones, right? And to me, it feels anticlimactic because I'm like, that's not even the same guy. That's not the guy who did any of this to anybody. That's a different guy. It is the same guy, but it's totally different.
Like, different mentality, different experiences so far leading up to that.
Exactly. And the Thanos from Infinity War is the one who wanted to kill half the world and make the betterment of the universe, right? It made sense to me. The Thanos from this movie is the same as any other villain who's just like, I want global domination and I want to destroy everything because you guys are worthless. And I was like, that's such a boring story, though. Like,
no, because but by the time that when Nebula and War Machine were on, what's it called?
Xandar.
Is it Xandar?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think so.
Anyway, when they're there, Thanos is already in search of the stones. Like, when he's in search of the stones, it's because he already has that goal in mind. Like, he already wanted to. It wasn't just global domination. Like, he already wanted to wipe out. He says
the line eventually. He's like, clearly that wasn't good enough. You guys are all still trying to come back and solve this or whatever, right? And then he says, I need to wipe you all out. And then he's like, then he even says something like, you're worthless or something stupid. I was like, that line is right out of any bad villain movie out there. And it was I didn't care about this Thanos at all, while the other Thanos I was rooting for. Like, it was bizarre.
But you know what? I liked. Okay, so I didn't really like how they built Thanos in Infinity War, and I'll still save some of those anecdotes because I told you I wanted to do that episode where you convinced me to like Infinity War. Because now that
I thought it was Infinity War versus Black Panther, which I think is easy to do. But
sure, well we can still do that. But it's just the way that they portrayed Thanos and showing his. Showing his background in that movie.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, like, like Thanos, to get to this point, like, he's definitely a very, very smart, like, tactician. He's very highly skilled in combat, in war, in, like, all things you could possibly think about, like, universal domination, right? So what I liked about seeing him more so in Endgame than Infinity War was the fact that, like, it was so quick for him to capitalize on like what was happening. Like, as soon as Nebula had these like visions, he's like, okay, no, something's going on. Like, I'm going to use this right now to increase like my strategy or whatever.
Yeah.
So I felt like those scenes alone with him and Nebula, where those were actually good portrayals of his like skill for strategy, and just like and like reaching his goal. I think more so just the strategy part. Like, just like he's a very smart villain, and using that brain to his advantage.
See, hold on, I'm already confused again. How did he get from the past time period to the modern time period? Because by the time he destroys the base, he's there in the future time period, right?
So Nebula, like the I guess you'd say the younger Nebula, right?
Okay, yeah.
So
that's another thing. Oh god, yeah. Gamora's like reset now. Like, everything's weird. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Okay. That's also a thing when you do time travel, because like when you do time travel, you have to set rules.
Yeah.
You have to set a structure. Otherwise, there are tons of questions, which I assume that they're going to be exploring a little bit more in the later arcs of the MCU. But who really knows? Either way, so with Nebula, the earlier Nebula was the one that went back instead of like modern Nebula. And so when she went back, she went to the time machine, and I guess this is something that I'm kind of not sure about, but she must have left like she must have had an extra one of Pym's particles. So she had one so she could teleport back, or she could transport back, but she left one with Thanos in the past. So that means like Thanos had a Pym particle so that he could jump to like our present day.
Okay.
Yeah, but she had to like calculate his like whereabouts, I guess. That's when she stuck her fingers in the computer and started like calculating all these things, and then started bringing him to the future.
Okay, and that's the thing. I know these movies are already a little bit magical and ridiculous. You do have to take some of these things with a grain of salt. People make portals out of nothing and then walk through them. But I think with every little bit of fantasy, there's always been a little bit of realism with it. Yeah. And that's a really heavy-handed thing to say, but I mean, It really is. There's a slight bit of like, ooh, it could happen though. But this movie was really like, we need to make these characters have one last battle, so we have to find one way to make it all work. Now, but that's not doing it justice. They did do quite a few new things where they're like, let's throw this in Fat Thor, let's throw this in ninja version of Arrow guy, let's throw this in, like, and Tony Stark has a daughter. Like, I understand they did throw in some things to make it interesting, and don't get me wrong, some of those are interesting and some of those were fun, but at the end of the day, Captain America standing there while everyone else jumps out of portals, you could tell was like that they're like, we gotta get here somehow. How do we make this happen, you know? And I think with that came a sacrifice of a lot of character developing moments. And Thanos went from a guy balancing a little sword saying, there's a balance in everything, you know? It's all about that perfect balance between good and evil, and it has to sit in the middle kind of thing. And he went through that with Gamora, where he's like a father figure to a very one-dimensional bad guy. And our heroes went from people trying to go from something from a greater good to more strict characters in a depressing world, who were defeated and crushed. And I think one of the ones that really bothered me was Arrow guy. He like his scene felt to me like there's clearly some comic book where Hawkeye, he becomes a samurai. There's some comic where he becomes some kind of samurai, and they're like, oh, how can we fit this into the universe? Oh, what if we take away his family, and then if it's in 5 years, well, that works perfectly. We can throw in the samurai version of him. So there's like this weird ass scene where like there's the Shanghai city, and like two people fighting each other with blades and all that. It feels really out of place, and then suddenly one of them dies, and the other one like removes his hood so dramatically, and it's Hawkeye, and I'm just like, I laughed because it looked so funny. It made no sense for his character to be a samurai, but they're like, no, he's in a he's in a dark place. His family died, so when you're in a dark place and your family dies, you become a Ronin. You know, it's like, wait, what? Like, but okay, that's the world we live in now. Like, and Scarlett Johansson is she's in such a dark place that her hair changed color again. So, there was a few things that were taking liberties to then be like, hey, we got to see a little bit of that sort of version of that character, right, guys? And then like take it all away, you know. And
I would agree, with Sammer Hawkeye and and Black Widow. Like, I didn't really I didn't really see a good amount of progression with those characters, for them to have that moment where they, you know, the back and forth tug of war sacrifice.
Yeah. If we never saw the Gamora scene, I bet you that scene would have been a lot more dramatic. Like, if we hadn't already seen that scene play out with Thanos, we probably would have found that scene slightly more dramatic.
I don't know. Like, even though, like, I feel like knowing that death has to come from it, like, that alone creates a lot of anticipation for us, because we now have to guess who it's going to be.
I guess.
Like,
it felt really weird. It felt like a Diet Coke version, though. It felt really strange to me watching that scene.
It wasn't. I think that scene. I think that scene could have been better had we had more time beforehand to see the actual, like, the stronger relationship with Black Widow and Hawkeye. But what I did like about that scene was, and this is alluding to what I said before about tying things from previous movies, was that they obviously recreated the image of how Gamora died. Right. And like, even like the shape of her on the ground, the blood smeared on the rocks as if it's like the same color as her hair, like her hair is painted on the rocks, right? So I kind of liked that as a juxtaposition kind of idea, just the fact that they're showing, well, for Infinity War, they showed Thanos' struggle, or Thanos' loss, and the imagery of that in Gamora's body, and now we're seeing the Avengers' loss and the imagery of that through Black Widow's body. So I liked how that looked.
Does it, let's take just a different path here, does it strengthen or weaken the other movies, now knowing that we have this other universe where our characters are kind of back to featuring in the background, you know? Like in Thor 2 or in Avengers 1, our characters are actually in the background a little bit, sneaking around doing their own thing during that scene. Does that weaken or strengthen those movies, do you think?
Well...
or stay the same?
I don't really... I'm not really sure, because, again, with, like, the whole timeline thing, like, you set all these rules. So, I mean, do we know for sure that they are there? Because with our current timeline, like, we've set everything...
I'm lost.
Yeah. Well, okay, I agree. Like it is. They definitely have a lot of things unanswered due to this whole timeline thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, do we like? I don't know if we can say for sure that that those characters are in fact appearing in the background of those movies because this timeline has been messed up, but also has been corrected. So if in the corrected timeline, they weren't ever there, right? I think.
See, I would need you to explain that to me because I don't know when they were at the end of the movie, they're like, okay, Steve, you got to go and put the stones back exactly where you found them or something. And I was just like, I've missed something. Like, I don't know where he's going or how that works.
That was the conversation with the Hulk and what's her name? Yeah, Tilda Swinton.
The Oracle?
Sure. The Oracle.
I actually thought that was her name.
No, she's like the great sensei. I don't know. Anyway, so it's Bill and Ted basically talking. So the Hulk and Tilda Swinton. Okay. And so she shows him this like golden timeline, like this is the timeline,
right?
And
she Star Treks it. She's like, and here's the parallel one that could happen if something goes wrong.
Yeah. Well, so then he puts the gem back, and that parallel one is completely dissolved, as if it never happened. So that's why the timeline is basically back to what we're watching in modern time. And what we're watching in modern time is that they actually never went back in the first place, kind of.
Okay, so maybe you're right. Maybe it does actually weaken the past ones. And I guess if they put the stones back,
I don't know. Yeah.
How did you feel about character arcs in this movie?
Just looking at this movie alone, or comparing it relative to the rest of the movies and watching them throughout other movies?
Yeah, let's do a little bit of that. It doesn't have to be in this single movie because it's quite a big movie with lots of characters. So it's going to be impossible for this movie to give all characters a arc in one single movie. But they did try to tie up some character arcs by the end of the movie for everyone. Yeah. So let's go through some of the major ones and let's just see how you felt about them. Because I have some opinions, but how did you feel? So, what happens to Thor? What happened to Thor?
Thor, he basically passed off his mantle to Valkyrie.
Okay, how'd you feel about that?
I thought it was expected. Like, because there were just so many things about Thor questioning himself, like, am I worthy? Am I worthy? And like there were so many, like, it wasn't just the Avengers movie, but his movies alone, right? Like in the first Thor movie, he was already exiled. Yeah. In Thor 2, didn't he like lose Mjolnir or something? And in the third one, no, sorry.
Second one was more.
Was second one Hela?
No. Second one was
third one.
The
third
Dark
one
Elf.
was Hela.
The Dark Elf.
Right, Dark Elf. Yeah, so in that one, I think maybe he like lost Mjolnir and then he had to like get it back or something. And then I can't remember. And then in the third one, Hela destroys Mjolnir. Yeah. And each time this happens to him, that's like crushing his own confidence. Like, oh, like this was like the symbol of my worthiness. Right. And like I'm going back and forth. Like I don't know if I am worthy. He was always getting to that point, and then I feel like, in Endgame, he wields two. He wields Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, and so I think like he knows he's worthy. Like he was this like big fat guy, but he can still battle with a titan, with a god.
I guess that's a good point. It is more about his physical. His exterior is showing that he doesn't think he can do it, while clearly he has something on the inside that is good enough, that is worthy enough for all of this, right? So I guess that's probably the point they were trying to make, but
who knows? I'm just saying a lot of words that just feel right, but I don't know. Well, what do you think about Thor specifically? Bless you.
Thank you. I don't know. It feels weird to me for him pass. Like I get he has to pass on the torch. I guess. I don't really think of him as like the guardian of Asgard, you know? I just kind of think of him as like a hero of Asgard. So it's weird to see him pass on this Asgard torch to all these other. It was weird to see that Asgard's like a bumbling city now in like Norway. Right. It was already strange to see that a little bit, I guess, and it's already kind of a strange concept anyway. So I hold no stock in the future of what happens with Thor. So I wasn't really sure where he was going to go or what was going to happen. Seeing him with the Guardians, I think, is interesting. Although I don't want him to ruin the future of the Guardians franchise. Like, I don't want Thor to overshadow everyone else. And I'm a little bit worried he might, but we'll see.
Oh, that'll be interesting. He called them the Asgardians of the Galaxy, which is also a comic. There is a comic that's the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
So that was kind of like an Easter egg kind of thing right there.
Okay.
Which I thought was kind of cool.
I think him and Chris Pratt are a little bit too much though. Like I think they're funny, but they get old quickly. So I don't want that to be the whole setting. But
right,
I
agree.
That being said, there's lots of areas for him to have a lot of fun off in space with the Guardians. So I'm sure that could be good.
Yeah.
Okay, different one. So Captain America, his storyline. He goes back in time.
Yep.
He stays back in time with Peggy. They have their dance. That's the scene we've been waiting for since the first Captain America movie. I thought that was handled pretty well.
Yep.
Personally, I kind of wish this happened a little bit differently. I wish this dance was maybe... I'm glad he got to actually have the dance with her, and then he got to actually spend his life with her, which is great. But I mean, I don't know. I really thought Captain would have died in this movie and sacrificed himself. So mine would be a lot more bleak, but I'm glad he did get that moment. How do you feel about him passing on the shield?
Oh, I saw that miles away. Like, I knew that he was going to do that, and I knew he was going to give it to Falcon.
Though? Like, it's the weirdest moment when Bucky's just sort of like, go ahead, man. Like, go. It's all good. It's like,
that is kind of weird. But
if I was Captain, I would be like, no, Bucky, I'm giving it to you. Like,
well,
you misunderstood, Buck.
I think like Bucky, he knew that Captain America was going to do that, right? Like when Captain America was hugging them, like they were all saying bye to him as if they're going to see him in 5 seconds because that was the plan.
Yeah.
But Bucky was like, I'm going to miss you. Like he knew
the
Captain
reason
America had a plan.
Bucky knew that is the same reason why he's supposed to be Captain America, though. He is Captain America. Just,
I see what you mean.
He's like the other version of Captain America, always has been, even since the first movie. So his story would have had an actual arc to it if he became Captain America in the end, because he's the one who says no, but then has the responsibility thrust upon him. That's somebody even better and more of a martyr character. But no, it was randomly Falcon. It just felt like, I was like, we don't know enough about Falcon for him to be Captain America. Why would... It was weird.
Well, I guess, okay, so the way I see that triangle, like there's Captain America, Bucky, and Falcon, right? Who all have the potential to be that, well, obviously, like they all have the potential to be Captain America.
Why?
So with Captain America, I see him as being, like, he was worthy because he was worthy of being Captain America because he strived to be the one to, like, from the beginning, he wanted to be a part of a war to stop war by not killing. Like, he immediately had, like, a moral compass, and he did whatever he could to strive towards that, right?
He dove on the grenade to protect his teammates in the first Captain America movie. Yes.
Yeah. So, and that was without all of the skills, without, like, the injection. Like, mentally, he was already at that level. He had that maturity level.
He had it on the inside.
Yeah.
But if that version of Steve Rogers was to don the suit and run down the line, he would not be able to be Captain America. Unfortunately, with the Avengers, he would have died in like 2 seconds if he was the skinny Steve Rogers. It was the superhuman serum stuff that made him Captain America, as well as the internal embodiment of all that stuff.
Well, yeah, sure. It's definitely a package deal. Like, there's no way he could have done any of that without the superhero serum.
So why is Falcon worthy?
Well, so he was the one who, like, basically welcomed Captain America with open arms when he was the one that was on the run, right? Like, I think he could already feel like, well, look, I know what Captain America is doing. He's now seen on the wrong side of the law, but I get why. Like, he's still trying to do the right thing, but, like, other people can't see this, and I'm going to do what I can to help him succeed in his plan, because, like, I'm in line with that. Like, I truly believe that what he's doing is the right thing to do. And he didn't have to do anything. He wasn't recruited. Like, nobody was, like, forcing him to do anything. Like, he had these skills that he got from war, and he's like, you know what? Like, this is something that I see needs to be done. And so I'm going to contribute in the way that I can. And so whenever that relationship had already started, in the beginning of that movie, when Captain America would run past him and say, "On your left," which I really like that callback too, because then when we see, like, he said "on your left" how many times? 3 times in that movie, I think. So the first couple times was during that running.
Yeah.
I can't remember when the second time was, but I think then the third time was like at the end when Falcon, sorry. See, I keep saying Captain Falcon is from Smash Bros.
I guess that. Oh yeah. I didn't think about that.
When Falcon is in the he's in the hospital. Oh, Falcon says it to Captain America.
Oh yeah.
Falcon says "on your left." right? So they went from beginning to end of that movie where they have each other's side, like no matter what. Like
Yeah.
they are now a unit.
They're
So
almost
from-
like Bucky and Captain America.
Well, exactly. Captain America and Bucky. Yeah. I see what you mean. They were definitely they were a good team, and I feel like if only Captain America only ever used his shield on his left arm, and Bucky's right arm was the vibranium arm, because in that way, like when they're standing side by side, left and right are covered, but for both of them it was the left. Anyway, side note. So I feel like the reason why I feel like Bucky is that he's worthy is because like post Civil War and post, like, I guess Wakanda and getting that stuff like de-brainwashed, that like he also wanted to do good and he would partake in any way that he could, even though like he really didn't have to. He didn't have any stakes in anything, right? Kind of like Falcon.
Right.
Like he just happened to be in Wakanda because that's where Captain America took him to be safe and to like help him get healed or whatever. And because he's there, like he's helping out because he's got the skills. So yeah, like Falcon, no stakes but contributing. I guess I just didn't see enough of Bucky showing that kind of like like willingness, or like being proactive in trying to actually do something for the greater good, whereas I saw that from Falcon.
Has Falcon ever carried the shield before?
In the movies?
Yes.
No.
Has
I don't think
Bucky ever carried the shield before?
He held it when Captain America threw it at him, right? Like he grabbed it.
He did. That's in the second Captain America movie.
Yeah.
In the first one,
Oh yeah.
he holds it on the train. Is it the train? No, he holds it at some point in the first one. Before he dies.
Oh.
He protects
okay.
Captain, I think, at some moment. Like a bomb gets ricocheted off of the shield, and Bucky holds it for Captain.
Oh, cool.
And in the third one, when
Yep.
they're fighting Iron Man, he holds it.
Oh yeah. It's Civil War. That's right.
3 times Bucky has held the shield, and yet Bucky does not get to be Captain America. That would be like Captain America picking up Thor's hammer once, and it's sort of moving a little bit, and then never, ever, ever picking up the hammer again. What a tease that would be.
Right.
What a tease.
I see what you mean. Okay, I can get on board with that.
For me, I like the Captain America storyline much better than the other characters.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a bit of a letdown when it's not even a mention of Bucky being the next Captain America. It was like, no, you take it. I was like, what are you doing? Like, it just seems so weird. I was like, there should at least be a, hey, Bucky, you should have this. And Bucky's like, nah, not my time, dog, or something, you know? Like,
Because
he
Bucky
gives
talks
it to
like
the other
Falcon.
guy. I don't know why Bucky talks like that, but he does. And then he gives it to Falcon. Like I said, it would be more appropriate if Bucky was thrust into the role of Captain America instead of it being handed to him. He would have to pick up the shield by instinct instead of just by want or need for it.
Right.
Anyways, that's just a tangent, but that's my thing with Captain America. Let's move into Iron Man. So Iron Man's story arc, it's over now. He's dead. So that's kind of sad.
So good,
but
we're
like you
done.
said, it goes from beginning to end though. It starts with Iron Man and ends with Iron Man. So you felt fairly good about it though?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was something about him having a child. So then I think he mentioned that in one of the previous movies too. Like I had a dream that we had a kid.
We had a kid. Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. Infinity War says that. Yeah.
Is it Infinity War? Okay, yeah.
He's talking to Pepper for like a couple seconds at the beginning, and he just says like, "I had a dream, we had a kid," or something like that.
Yeah, and I can't remember if they said her name or the kid's name in that dream, but
I can't remember if they said the kid's name in Endgame.
Endgame. Oh, it's Morgan.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, Morgan Stark is a cousin or something in the comics.
Oh.
So there already exists. There's a Morgan Stark that already exists, but so I think another reason why I expected Iron Man to die was because he was the one that ended up having a family. Like he had the most positive path post snap.
Yes,
Post-snap,
definitely.
we'll say
That's
post-snap.
actually kind of the ironic thing, right? Everyone else's lives got a lot more depressing. Iron Man's life got a lot better.
Yeah.
So that left stakes on the line for him to go back in time. I thought that was very interesting. Really interesting concept.
Yeah. So because he was the one that had the most positive path post snap, and because I saw him as the one that went through the most development from being very selfish to very selfless, that I thought, okay, you know what, he's gone through this whole arc that he's his next big step is basically like to solidify that he's gone from selfish to selfless is to sacrifice himself for absolutely everybody else on the planet.
Right.
So when he let's see, yeah, when he said like to Captain America, like, I'm gonna do this for you, but I gotta tell you, like, yes, like, bring everybody back, like, I'm gonna do my best, save what I've already gotten, like, that's my priority, like, I gotta do that. I have to. So that's basically saying like he's not doing it for himself, like, he's doing it because of the family that he's gotten. So for me, that was already like, wow, like, we're seeing a lot of very selfless acts from Tony. Every time he looked at his picture frames of him and Spider-Man and Peter Parker, like, I would actually get a little bit choked up because, like, I really liked seeing those two on screen together and them calling out to each other, and it was almost like the way that Tony didn't get to have like his father be around him, he was almost like being a father towards like Peter Parker and trying to bring him up in a way that he thought was good,
right?
In a way that he thought his, like, both of their skills could actually contribute to people in general.
Maybe I needed to watch like a refresher. I kind of forgot that they had like a friendship relationship thing. Like I knew obviously there was a moment, something was really obvious where it was like he was thinking about Peter and how Peter had died. I think maybe someone was straight up like maybe Pepper was like, I know you're thinking of Peter, or something like that, right? And it was just like, whatever it was, there was a moment where it was very obvious. Other than that, I totally forgot they had like a relationship or any kind of friendship.
Right.
So I was thinking about him and his daughter for most of it, but still, that's a good point though. That, I mean, he has a pretty solid relationship with a lot of the characters. But yeah, all in all, they did a pretty good job with his arc though. You're right, I do agree with you. He has a good story arc in this movie. He's one of the only characters that does, and he's got a good story arc in it. Story Stark, one could say. And for the overall franchise, you're right. If you go all the way back to Iron Man 1 and then you end on Endgame. Great story arc. It all comes full circle. This,
except for Hulk. I mean, because we're not going to count the Edward Norton Hulk technically in this universe, but we have to. So this movie to me is a jumping off point for Marvel movies, and I think a lot of people are shocked how much they're feeling that. Well, how do you feel about that? Is this sort of a jumping off point where you'll stop watching Marvel, or do you think you're excited to see where the series goes? Or the franchise goes, I should say. I don't know if I'm excited per se, just because not just looking at the like big screen picture, but they're doing a lot of stuff like with the streaming services, right?
Disney Plus, right?
Right, so they're going to have WandaVision, they're going to have Captain Falcon and Bucky, whatever it's called, and then they're going to have Loki. Like, they have all these, like, it almost feels like they're just spreading themselves too thin. I don't know what it's going to look like, and I'm a little bit, I guess, I'm almost like a little bit worried because, like, if they're going to be utilizing all these different platforms for telling a story, that almost makes me feel like we have to get on board with every single thing to get the full picture, and if we don't, we're going to be missing aspects, and then we're going to lose the impact. We're going to lose what makes us connect to certain characters, right?
Right.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I think again, I was disappointed with this movie. That doesn't mean it was a bad movie. That was more my expectations and things that I thought were handled really strangely in this movie, which I wouldn't have expected from something that was the sequel to Infinity War. But I thought I would...
Hi!
Sorry, just hearing noises. I thought that I would jump off here because I'm a little bit concerned about being disappointed in the future with other ones as well.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Captain Marvel. I'm not really interested in her character here. So I think that's where the series is kind of going next, and I'm not really interested in her storyline right now. And as Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm not sure about either, because now we have a Gamora that is... Oh, hold on, there's somebody coming in the room.
Ooh, I see a light.
Why that door? Oh no! I locked the screen door.
Oh, Mattbrush. Oh.
Do you want to say hi?
Sorry. Hi.
You're
How are
on
you?
candid camera.
Can you hear him?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Kind of.
Can you tell him?
Yeah.
Do you want to give your quick thoughts on Endgame? Give me a quick synopsis. Give me a quick little not synopsis. Give me a quick review.
Spoilers included?
Yeah, we're in spoiler territory. Talking to the mic so they can hear you.
I think it was a decent wrap up of the whole better part of the universe. I can just
Cool.
end it there. I don't want to see the next parts. But
That's what we're covering.
Wow,
right
we're
now.
talking about jumping off.
I think
That's
it's
perfect.
a good decent. I'm not happy with Captain America just because he was my favorite.
Okay.
Because I didn't want his story to end, but I know it had to end.
Oh, I see.
So it's decent, but I just want it to continue.
Who do you think should have got the shield?
Oh, I think that whole Bucky thing being no, bro, you do it. You're obviously his best friend from 100 years ago. I think that was dumb. I think Bucky should have got a shield.
You can tell we've talked about this already.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Those are my opinions.
Good.
But yeah, overall, decent movie.
Tony Stark? You like Tony Stark?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
Smushed the whole 3 hours together, and I think that was good.
Cool.
Sorry, I guess the whole
Alright.
6 hours or whatever. But yeah.
I think you did a better review than I did, and you did it in 2 minutes. So.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah, she said it better than I could have said it. Anyway, so there you go. That's about it. I'm not necessarily looking forward to the future of Marvel, and I'm a little bit concerned, as you are. And you're right. If they put it on other platforms and they spread it too thin, it's gonna really suck. And I don't want to continue being I love Marvel when really I don't even know what Marvel's doing anymore. So I'm gonna say, hey, that movie was not what I was expecting, but it wasn't bad. So jumping off there, it's done. It's been since 2009, and I'm done now. So every other story can just go do its thing. But I'm good with this one, and I'll still rewatch them because they're fun. But I'm gonna just try to stay with these ones and keep it contained.
Okay, but before I forget, so you watched it in theaters once or twice?
Just once. I've only seen Endgame once. I've only seen
Okay.
Infinity War twice, I think, though, for that matter. So it's not like
Okay.
I've stacked up on one and not on the other. So
Yeah, I think I've seen Infinity War 3, maybe even 4 times now, because I can't remember. I told you that we were, my fiance and I would be going through every single movie again, one more time leading up to.
Oh
Endgame.
yeah. And
So,
I
yeah,
think
we
I
watched-
maybe should have done that with Endgame, but that'll happen naturally in the future anyways. So my thoughts
Sure.
might change on Endgame in the future. It's just when I went and saw it, I was not that. And I feel like I remember the older movies quite well, especially the Captain America storylines or the Iron Man ones, which I think matter.
Yeah.
Also, come on. I mean, Captain America 1, 2, and 3, the story arcs for him in those single movies versus Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. Which character was better? Captain America, by far.
Yeah, well, at least the movies themselves were much better.
Yeah.
The character, unfortunately, characterization it tags along with how the story is told. So because the Iron Man movies weren't told that well, the character didn't get to shine as much.
Iron Man's better in Civil War than he is in Iron Man 2 or 3.
He's great, and you know what? He's the antagonist, right? in Civil
I
War.
know, and that's what made him so much better, because it
Yeah.
was an actual character.
Yeah.
Anyways, I can talk about that for hours, but yeah, that's my thoughts.
So when you watched it in theaters, how soon was it after release?
Pretty soon. I think it came out on the Friday, and we saw it on the Sunday, I want to say.
Oh,
Yeah.
were people cheering and stuff in your theater at any point?
I think there was a bit of that, yeah. I think people clapped at the end, I want to say.
Wow. Okay, so I had a completely different movie-going experience than you did.
Okay.
And I'm very happy that I did. Normally, in a movie, if people are being loud and boisterous, I would be kind of upset because I would be losing out on dialogue, and and that's really important to the stories, right? Even if it's an action movie, you still need to know what the dialogue is because that's really part of the storytelling.
Right.
So there were and you can see tons of reaction videos, and my theater was quite similar, but let's say I want to do it from beginning to end, but the first time we had a really big cheer, I think was I guess probably Captain. I know there was one before Captain America picked up Mjolnir, but you know the scene where Mjolnir is kind of shaking and it's coming off the ground.
Right.
So
yeah.
Thanos is shoving the axe or Stormbreaker into Thor, and then all of a sudden he gets hit from behind with Mjolnir. Mjolnir comes back, and then Captain America grabs it, and he kind of recoils. As soon as he grabs it, people were going nuts in the theater. They were like, yeah, like cheering and clapping, but as soon as like Mjolnir was like starting to rise, people were like, and then like there were a couple guys in like in our row, not like with us, but like they knew exactly what was happening. Like they knew that it was going to be Captain America. You could tell by the way they're like, oh, it's coming, it's coming. Like they were already cheering when Mjolnir started coming up before we knew who got it. So anyways, there's that scene, and then when Falcon says on your left, everybody started clapping and cheering
that
again.
one shot just before he says that one shot of Captain America versus everything, and it's like him just on the hill, like oh my god, you could have made a whole movie and just had that one shot, and that would have been a better movie maybe.
That a friend of mine, we were talking about this too, because we both agree that how this movie is very much like a comic come to life. That there's scenes like that when Captain America is standing, like picture that as like a double page spread.
Yeah,
for a
exactly.
comic, right?
That is artwork. That was insane. It was really good.
For sure. There's that scene, and then also the one where he's standing with his back facing the camera, and you see him watching Captain Marvel like go through Thanos' warship and just completely destroy it. And to me, that was also like another double page spread, because it's like it's almost like you're watching it from Captain America's eyes, like his point of view.
Yeah, I have to admit, she was handled really well for the fighting choreography. I thought she was cool for that. And even when she fought Thanos, I was concerned, because like she's kind of Superman, and I don't like Superman at all either, because the power is just too strong, so you lose any kind of interest.
Yeah.
So for me, I just find him boring, and so therefore I find her boring as well. Like she is the Marvel Superman. So when she was like, when she took out a ship, cool, that was awesome. I liked it. It was an interesting moment. She came in, I don't know why she was gone for half the movie, but when she came in, it was okay, cool. And then when she was fighting Thanos, I do like that he was still able to overpower her, because then I was like, okay, cool, she's not so powerful that she's just gonna steal the movie from everyone else, right? So I actually thought she was handled pretty well for the fight scenes. There was a few moments though where I'm like, why doesn't she just zip around as fast as she normally does when like she's struggling? But I don't know her powers enough, so I don't really know the rules to her character yet. So I guess I have to watch Captain Marvel to understand why she can't do half the things. Like I don't know why she couldn't just grab the thing and just zip around. Like she zipped in like 2 seconds. Why can't she just grab it and zip out in like 2 seconds? Yeah. The gauntlet, I mean, right? So anyways, sorry, that reminded me. But yeah.
No, that's totally cool. So then, when he said on your left, and everybody, like the first portal opened, and then those same guys that were like in a row, they're like, yeah, they're like, and then because they start screaming, like other people in the theater, like they're getting into it too, right? So we're all like clapping and cheering.
Oh yeah, I forgot he said, "Cap, can you hear me?"
Captain Sam, can you hear me?
Oh my god.
But just imagine being there. Like, it's cheesy when you hear it, but like when you're there, it's just
It's Black Panther!
Enter Black Panther.
Did you just pause? Mine just pause. Oh no, it didn't pause.
I'll narrate so that listeners know what we're
Oh, I'll play the clip. I'll play the clip in the
okay,
background.
perfect.
Yeah. Hundreds of portals open.
Yeah. Good caption, right?
I was definitely stoked to see Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah. Well, we definitely had to see pretty much like everybody come back. Oh, Spider-Man swinging in was just so cool.
It won't break.
I think when I first heard him say that, I was like, what? He won't pay? Is that what they're saying? He won't pay. I think the dialogue with Wong was pretty funny. Yeah.
Pepper Potts!
Is that everyone? What do you want it?
Everyone's like clapping like it's the Oh my god.
Like it's a processional, like it's a graduation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Avengers! Hey, give him back his hammer.
And the theater goes wild.
Oh my god. This is the most epic moment in cinema history.
Like, oh yeah,
that
like,
is a good theme though, man. That's a great theme.
Yeah.
I can't help but want to watch this scene now. I can't see the scene, but I want
Right?
to watch it.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, the last battle is obviously cool. A lot of the movie is cool. I'm just upset with how everything worked to get there. You know, like it's
Right.
cool to see. If I could have gone from Infinity War, maybe the end of Infinity War, to that scene, I think I would have been totally fine. I don't think I needed to know the other 2 hours of the movie. I think I honestly could have just gone from that right to that battle and been like, yes, and like right in the middle of it, because my adrenaline's going, my hype is going. I was so excited and happy. It was
I
just
think
the
you'd
other,
be pretty
2 hours
exhausted.
were just kind of stuff I didn't really care about. In fact, that wasn't even an hour. That's like the last 20 minutes of the movie maybe.
Yeah,
So.
that's true.
And like, I really like Doctor Strange from the first one, and it's kind of sad that we don't get him in this movie at all. But he'll get his own other movie, I guess. So we'll get there.
Yeah, he's still slated to have a part 2 and Black Panther 2, right? I think.
Yeah.
And then Black Widow's getting a prequel. What else is there?
I really only care about Star-Lord and Doctor Strange. Like, for any kind of character development, I'm interested where Star-Lord is going to go, and I'm interested in Doctor Strange. And I'm kind of interested in Bucky, but I would have been more interested if he was the next Captain America. But yeah. Other than that, anyways, that's my whole thoughts. That's our whole thoughts on Endgame. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. We'll probably end up talking about it in other movies.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And this is also a month later too. It's May 27th.
Exactly. And I've seen it
and
once.
the movie came out on April 26th, but 24th, 25th as well. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's still fairly raw with emotions on the movie. We'll see how it goes over time. And again, Infinity War is still my favorite one, but who knows? Maybe over time I won't like it as much. I don't know, but I like it.
I think you're gonna have to do a marathon and then see everything in one go, recap everything. And then come back to me. Let me know.
Can I go through all those movies? Okay. That's
only 22 of them.
I've seen The Office probably like 16 times over and over again. So I can hold off on The Office once to just watch the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll skip a Lord of the Rings marathon and I'll just watch the Marvel movies instead.
Oh yeah. Speaking of marathons, my fiance and I we want to find some time to do a Harry Potter marathon.
Oh yeah.
Like even though. Like the first few movies for me, the movies were kind of like the first few books of the whole series. Like they were definitely a lot shorter, more simple, and maybe like not as epic. Like reading the fourth one for me was like, I am so in love with this story. I love everything that's like every single thing that I'm reading about this. I love like the imagination that I'm getting to use like with the storytelling. It's just so cool. From fourth on, it was just so good. But yeah, even with the movies, like I think the first three still felt that way about them feeling a little bit on the short-ended side, but I still really enjoy watching them all. Like watching them all grow up. They're so young, and then seeing them like experience this whole magical world. It's really cool. Really want to do a marathon. It'll be fun.
Yeah, we did it not too long ago. It's like last summer. We went through all the movies. And it wasn't hard at all. Just every night we watched one of them. And, 7 nights or 8 nights go by and you're like done. So
yeah. Well, we might try to do it in like 2 nights. Like one night do 4 movies. And the next night do the next 4. Bless you.
Thank you.
So,
that's probably a good idea.
We'll see. See how it goes.
Cool. Okay. I like this. This is our new setup. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm excited for the future. We're back. We're back, baby. Back in action.
We're going back.
We've got to go back. Okay. I hope everybody enjoyed this. See you guys next time. Do we have a closing thing we say? I don't even remember.
Yeah. Something like find us on Twitter. And
I'm sorry.
You're
like,
right. Anth0z, what's your Twitter? And like, or like Anth0z, where can our audience find you?
Let them know where they can find you.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Anth0z1. That's at Anth0z1.
And if you'd like to find me, you can find me at Twitter as well at Mattbrush Gaming. Please leave a comment or a like or a subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is also Mattbrush Gaming at YouTube. Yeah, if you comment or you leave us a like or just even viewing this on any kind of platform or listening to it on any kind of podcast platform, we get up in the analytics.
Podcast popcorn.
I
heard podcast popcorn.
Podcast popcorn. That tastes pretty good. So buy our popcorn, our specific podcast popcorn that we make.
Scum corn.
Yeah, scummy popcorn. Yeah, we're available on like all podcast platforms that I can think of at least. Yeah, please help us out. Just share us around. See if you like what you hear.
Yeah.
And if you don't,
tell us your thoughts on Endgame.
we'd like to hear from you. What do you think about Endgame? Maybe we'll bring you up on the next one to make fun of you. So
Yes.
we'll see.
Most
Okay.
likely.
Awesome. Everybody have a fantastical day. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Hello.
Yeah, we watched Iron Man 2 last night.
Iron Man 2. Shut it down.
Yeah.
Did somebody say shut it down?
Yeah, Mormon Cheadle.
Don Cheadle?
Yeah.
Not John Cheadle.
Don Cheadle. I was gonna say John,
John.
I almost said John
Cheadle.
Cheatham. It was like a
John
mixture of
Cheadle.
Tatum.